It's Sindarov who's feeling his heart pound out of his chest right now.
That's the thing in chess. The closer you get to the finishing line, the harder it becomes, the more nervous you get. And we're off. Handshakes.
Well, your prediction comes true.
Both players opening up their bishops in this right-hand corner. And Fabiano already maybe not making the best move, but a very logical one, developing his knight, maybe his queen. Actually, big threat. The black queen trying to jump out with a check. And there is an undefended pawn in the corner. So already Javalkir having to pause. That's sneaky from Fabi. Very sneaky.
And it's a trap that's so easily missed because, again, patterns, right? In our brain, we're thinking the king is placed there. So he's got to be a little careful right now. It's not something you get to see often. And wait, he is allowing it.
He's giving it. Yeah, I wanted to push b3 just to defend against that square.
Yeah, and that's very clever because now a queen check, just to show this on the board, would allow now b3 with more power, attacking the queen and actually attacking this undefended bishop in the corner. It looks like you lose a pawn. This is actually why he stepped forward his pawn in the center, because now a check. This is devastating unless the white king can run. And now Fabiano has to evaluate this, but it doesn't work. So he's actually setting a trap back here, and Fabiano avoids that, of course, pushes a pawn instead.
Very tricky stuff so early on. You know, it's so easy to go wrong in these games. And now we see Sindarov, I believe he's made that move, putting the queen in front of the king. Just laterally also defending that undefended pawn if it's ever required. The knights will come out next. But first, Fabi's knight comes into the middle of the board.
Yeah, at least he's got a non-symmetrical position, Fabiano, for now. He's developing his pieces. This looks almost like classical chess, traditional chess. I'm assuming that both sides actually want to bring their king to the right sides of the board. It just feels safer. I don't think you should be castling into this side for black. It just looks scary with the white bishops just kind of staring at you from afar.
Would also be so incredibly tempting as black to push that pawn in front of the queen towards the center, gain more control, gain more space, 2 steps forward right there. And he does make a decision.
Okay. Javalkir thinking.
Under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
How do you respond? Do you continue development? Do you fight the idea of black expanding in the center? It's already tension.
Yeah, you can sense the indecision from Javalkir, right? Like, he knows that he's totally fine here with white, but you have so much choice. You can push a central pawn in 2 different ways. You can push another pawn. You can bring your knight out. There's no right or wrong. He's, okay, just staying very flexible. He's going to park his knight on this square. And yeah, this actually resembles the English opening in traditional chess, where we get the exact same pawn structure: a white pawn on this square, a black pawn in the center, and we often get this kind of tension between the bishops as well. So yeah, the player's trying to gravitate towards more known waters.
Familiar territory, right? That's why your brain wants to take you. And you're totally right. Once the kings do find safety, it starts appearing like your standard chess position. And he's expanding on the left side of the board. Javalkir is, while for Fabi, it's more control at the center. Just wondering who is going to be faster with the break, because for white to get safety on the right side, you're looking at those further pawns moving up the board, right? The F pawn can start attacking as well. Looking at some breaks there, the rook beautifully lined up for that.
Yeah, the one problem for Fabiano, the reason he's thinking is he doesn't know what to do with this bishop in the corner. This is the one problem piece. He opens it up. He offers this trade. And now it makes it less appealing, actually, for the white king to go this way if it will lack its defender of the light squares, the guardian of the light squares on the corner here. So great move there from Fabiano. And Javalkir says, yes, please, to the exchange.
So he wants it. Do you think that now he's committing to castling to the left-hand side? Or not castling at all?
Yeah, I think both kings are going this direction. Just feels that way. And there we go.
There you have it.
Javalkir, for a second, he showed indecision, like, where do I put my king? Where do I? He didn't need to touch his rook. The rook lands on the same square it started the game on.
It's really interesting, expecting Fabi to do the same for his own king, and then it just starts feeling that who's going to be faster? Is it going to be Javalkir on the left side or the king attack that we see Fabi set up with his pawns moving forward? I will also point out, with that trade, Fabi set up for a break on the left side of the board as well, a very thematic idea of pushing that A pawn 2 steps forward, trying to get an open line, an inroad for the rook on the left-hand side.
Yeah, this I mean, if you showed me this position, I would guarantee it was from traditional chess. I would never, ever say it was from freestyle chess.
Interesting.
But, I think that might be a good thing for Fabiano. Okay, he trades a set of knights. Now he's coming on with his own knight. White has some doubled pawns. Very difficult to actually defend this one. It sticks out a bit like a sore thumb here. You need to defend it with your knight. That's the only way to keep that pawn on the board. But then the white knight is moving away from the defense of its own king. So watch out. The white king, a bit of a target.
I'm expecting at some point Fabiano to blow this open with that f-pawn moving forward and trying to sort of ruin the pawn formation that Jabouquir has defending his own king, trying to get to those light squares which have been weakened by the trade of the bishops. You know, find an inroad for your queen. If we just push that f-pawn up to f3, the queen, where you're pointing out there is a kiss checkmate that we can already imagine appearing on the board.
And I assume that threat of that f-pawn is the reason why we can't defend with our e-pawn, and the knight is the requirement.
Yep, the knight is the requirement. Stepping forward, the white pawn is desirable, but that square is covered twice by black, and it was only covered once by white. And wow, Fabiano takes a timeout. Very surprising. He covers this square. He stops the white knight from leaping forward to attack any pawns. So he's locked down that left side of the board. Play is now going to switch to the flank that the kings sit on. And Fabiano will aim to attack there. But look at the clocks. He's 2 minutes up, Fabi. He's been playing quickly, instinctively. It is so typical that players freeze when they're this close to their goal. I've been there myself. On the brink of like a game, kind of a life-changing result, you suddenly get nervous and you slow down. That could come back to haunt him, Jabouquir. He's only got 1 minute and the game's only just beginning.
Yes. So now he goes for that e-pawn push because the knight that he had previously moved now double defends that spot. Fabiano decides, I'm not looking for the trade, I'm going for an f4 push.
And that's a big push now because you really can't allow that pawn to move forward right now. We were talking about all the checkmating ideas. There's also a black knight ready to assist that queen once it does arrive on the square that, David, you're highlighting. Knight g4 as well to follow. So now Jabouquir going on the defense, takes control, stops that pawn from moving ahead, also gets the queen closer to the white king if required.
Yeah, the white queen can slide across now. Just for everyone at home, it was not advisable to capture a pawn in the center. It would have just opened up the white king too much. And indirectly, the black rook would have been defending as well. So the white queen could not have got involved in any captures there. But, okay, Fabiano quietly improves his bishop. He's trying to line up, but it does feel like Fabiano's been a bit slow here, Tanya. It feels like, okay, he's been fast on the clock. On the board, he doesn't really want to initiate any pawn storm, any attack against the king. Maybe he might have missed his opportunity.
But I do like how he's keeping the tension, and especially, you know, as Jabouquir's clock ticks down, maybe those big decisions, those big pawn moves will come when Jabouquir will have only seconds to deal with it. He comes down with the knight. Jabouquir knows there's this one weakness in Fabi's camp. It's on the C line. It's that backward pawn you really want to start targeting by doubling up, maybe even tripling up on this open file to distract Fabiano from getting into the attack.
Now with that knight retreating, though, there's no longer the threat of jumping in and hitting that pawn on the 7th rank. I wonder, is just as quickly as we swapped pressure to one side, we might swing it back the other way.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we'll see Fabiano push his pawn forward, just try to lock up that side of the board. We could see, for example, if Fabiano pushes his pawn, Sindarov try to lock up one flank. Remember how blocked up one of their previous encounters was with no trades in the first 22 moves there. This one, there have been some trades, but Jabouquir would love to lock things up and go for the draw that he requires to get to the final. Fabi allows things to lock up.
It really looks like the kind of position you want if you're playing for the win from Fabi's perspective. You know, it's going to open up that line, that access to the white king. He sidesteps. Jabouquir wants his own rook to first take that spot. Fabi does the same. We can see a potential trade-off on this open line.
The one problem for Fabiano here is that his knight doesn't really have anywhere to jump. The black bishop is pretty much entombed behind its pawns. That's what we call a bad bishop. Most of black's pawns, especially in the center, are on the same color complex, so you're basically hemmed in. And white has a pawn break.
I was just about to say the same thing, and I think that is the key point in this position, that when that pawn break arrives is when white gets the inroads. If that knight gets to any of those light squares, it's going to be a complete stallion, a beast on the board.
Fabiano might be going out here. Fabiano, I think he might have already missed his opportunities. He played these slow moves, like pushing a pawn forward. He didn't go for the attack. He moved his bishop earlier. Now we see a trade of pawns in the center. But the black pawns are so weak, and the white rooks are getting ready to stack up on this open line near the king's side. It's just so ugly for Fabiano. He's got weaknesses on both flanks. And this one, Sindarov's done everything right. Just so harmonious for the white pieces. And okay, Fabiano trying to create threats. There was a pawn attacked, but the white queen simply stepped up and guarded it. What else to do? The black minor pieces, those are the problem pieces in the position. There's nothing to do with them. They're so locked in behind this pawn chain, this pawn structure in the middle.
Yeah, and his 2-minute time advantage from earlier is completely vaporized. Both players now approaching that 30-second and below mark.
Yeah, this is getting super tense. You know, black's queen is eyeing that pawn, not allowing the white queen to capture the pawn on the left side of the board, which is hanging right now. You really don't want to lose that f3 pawn in the position. Fabi just has to sit because all of Sindarov's pieces are ready. The bishop is tying down Fabiano's rook to defend that central pawn. The two rooks lined up, also tying down the black knight to defend. At the right time, Sindarov will strike with the d pawn moving forward, further opening up the position.
Fabiano is frozen, by the way. He can barely move a single piece. So Sindarov not wanting to take risk, he can just move. He can just wait and wait and wait. I don't see anything that Fabiano can do to attack. A draw is enough, so just try and lock the position and sit still. I think that is the strategy. Both sides, though, at 15 seconds left. Who can hold their nerve?
Anything can happen. And I think that's a great strategy for Sindarov to just let Fabi come at him right now because there really aren't any inroads. And he's doing that. He's just shuffling around with his bishops. But where is Fabi's breaks? Where are the counterplay? He tries to trade off one pair of rooks to ease the pressure. Attacking a central pawn.
Now the white queen sliding. That is scary. Fabiano on the edge here. He needs a miracle to save this. He's got 5 seconds.
Shavakir Sindarov is about to make it to the finals, it appears. The way he's playing, the position on the board, complete control. Or maybe more twists lie ahead.
Yeah, absolute time trouble for both players. 5 seconds on the clock. We're seeing the evaluation bar swing one way and then the other. But there's not enough time for these players to think at the levels of an engine. They're playing on pure intuition at this point.
There was actually one move blunder by Sindarov. He walked into some bad squares with his queen, but now he's got full control. The white queen has gone snacking on pawns on the queen side. Fabiano, this is desperation.
A little bit of counterplay.
Desperation. It's cost him a knight.
It's paying off because Sindarov, he just made a big mistake. Is black's attack coming through?
What's happening?
It's checkmate in 2
He's
minutes.
about to win. And that's it.
What?
Look at the heart rates.
And just as the first game gets blown open and turned on a dime, we have the reversal from Fabiano Caruana to even it up 3-3.
Wow. We go down to the Armageddon.
You called it. You wanted it. The players delivered on it. High intensity moments. There's a collective breath and and exhalation, I think, both here in the studio and probably in the player hall as well. We're not done yet.
A complete roller coaster as we get the action shots of those final moments which ended in complete chaos and a checkmate given by Fabi and relief on him. And there he is, you know, he survives to tie the match and take it to sudden death. But there will be a winner.